So I have discovered I have an unintended superpower this morning or this
Uh-oh.
afternoon. I guess it's early day.
Oh dear.
I like a little snack, like
Mhm.
little beef. This is not an endorsement, by the way. Like beef jerky or like these little snacks. I have a superpower. The first reach in, no matter what, how much is in the bag, I will always pull this little stupid thing out and try to eat it.
Yep.
Am I the only person that this is the first thing you typically pull out of the damn bag and accidentally? Is it just my power?
I
Yeah,
usually look at what I pull out of the bag before I eat it. So that's one thing.
Hmm.
So the other thing, Chris, I'm just going to put out there, the fact that you eat so much of it that you've recognized this pattern, um, like what you're pulling out there is not farm fresh food. I mean, so maybe some of these forever chemicals are starting to have an impact on you a little bit. I'm unsure, but I'm
Hmm.
glad that you've noticed that, and yeah, it doesn't happen to me.
You don't think I'm going to get a worm in my brain as a result of eating, like chewing on those
No,
packets?
I doubt that because I don't think actually anything organic is going to be in your body at some point in time. I think you're just going to be perfectly preserved like that for the rest of your life. And then,
Oh my
like
god!
your kids are going to be like, put the silicon packets in dad. And so like, there you go.
I love that. I love that. That means I won't. I won't decay. I won't.
That's right.
Nothing will break down. I'll be all right.
You're going to be perfect.
Be like that dentist who put a Happy Meal in the corner of the office when people came in, and it sat in the corner for like 2 years, and it looked exactly the same. It's kind of like that.
More like a Twinkie that's been,
Jerry, did you just call me a Twinkie?
yeah, those things last forever.
All right. On that note, I think we're ready to get started.
So we're going completely the wrong direction right now. Yeah.
Gonna go right downhill from here. Here we go.
CXR Channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
Good morning.
All right, everybody. Welcome. We're happy to have you back. Whether you're chewing on your morning snack or a silicon packet, you have joined the Recruiting Community Podcast. We bring weekly insights to you and updates in the form of a conversation. And today we've got Chris Forman, who's our friend. He's been a founder and CEO of Appcast. He's going to join us. We're going to dive into some whirlwind of change in the hiring economy and exploring how sort of job market trends and some information here sort of reshaping talent acquisition as we zoom towards 2025. Remote work joke? No, a little early. That's all right. I am your host, Peter Parker. I have with me Tony Stark. Tony, how are you?
I'm fine. Iron Man, I've got my own superpower.
You do indeed. And hopefully it's not chewing on silicon packets. It's fine.
Yeah, not at all.
For those of you who've joined us, if we're on the YouTube, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Twitch, check us out at cxr.work/podcast. You can see past and future episodes there. If you are on LinkedIn with us, there should be a little chat window there. You can say hello and chime right in. You can ask questions of Chris today or Jerry or myself. Add comments or even talk to each other. All that's good too. I want to do a reminder here too. This is an ad-free labor of love that we do. But having said all of that, we got a little something we want to talk about, and that's the latest research report that was just published. Literally has just come out this week. We just finished it up. It was a relationship between recruitment marketing and employer branding, and we did that. Jimmy McCourt, who's over at Shaker Recruitment Marketing, was our co-facilitator on that, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the conversations between something like, what do we have, 30, 40 people?
We did actually. Yep. I have pulled up the list here. So we had about 40 folks in there. We are highlighting, I think, 19 or 20 of them as featured panelists. You've got the likes, and this is a long list of really cool folks. Carrie Newen, Liz Mangini, you've got James Ellis, you've got Rachel Duran, you've got just a ton of really great folks in here. Brian Adams was part of this, Allison Cruz, like really great. You can download it. It's free. Anybody can get a hold of it. Jerry, was there kind of an aha or a fun component of that to sort of watch for you as we went through it?
I think the issue is, on one hand, seeing the evolution of the thinking around recruitment marketing and the differentiation between that and employment branding. And it was pretty clear in terms of the conversations where that is. And that's kind of what I really like about this, is when peers are fully engaging and challenging one another about their thinking on a given topic. I think there's always something to be learned.
Yeah, I enjoyed the debate of who owns what, which was a little bit of fun there. But I mean, you talk about a powerhouse of folks sort of chiming in and sharing. It's a great takeaway. It's about 30 or so pages. Anybody can download it, cxr.org/research. So check that out. All right. I think with that, we're going to go ahead and welcome Chris back in. Let me find the right button. There we go. Let's put him in the big kid chair. There we go. Chris, how are you?
I'm great, guys. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Tuesday. It's great. We had a big week. Like, we're just coming out of like a couple of big things, and most certainly our leadership meeting was last week, where we pulled together a bunch of heads of TA and our solutions members. We had them a couple of days sort of quarantined off in a resort out in Tucson, which was marvelous. We had heartbeat drum dancing. We had a string quartet. We had a no phones and laptops allowed during the meeting, right? We did all about that. But one of the really cool things that we did have was a gentleman that you were very familiar with, Andrew Flowers, who came out and spoke.
Flower power. Yeah, no, Andrew's a great guy. And, considering the musical theme, it sounds like you've got some of his talks are like, Taylor Swift concerts with people, lighters and phones and the whole 9 yards, all doing that around labor economics. It's a sight to see. So how was he?
He was perfect. He was absolutely perfect. Yeah. And you're not wrong. The guy I've never seen. I don't know how to, I say this with peace and love. This dude is a power nerd. Like, he has the most amazing fan base. Like, any time he speaks or he comes and does the quarterly report with us, that folks come up to us afterwards and like, oh my God, he's so smart. And he makes it relatable. Like, you can understand what he's saying because he's just literally there to just get the message to you, not just spit out the data. And he's just so good.
Yeah, the flower power is real. And what's really neat is that I forget who said this, but once somebody smart said that the smarter you are, the easier you make it for everybody to understand, because you need to have such depth of knowledge that you can translate it into everyday language. So sometimes when you hear all these talking heads go and you have like, I have no idea what this guy's saying. Some of the times that's because I don't think they know what they're saying. But the neat thing about Andrew is he's got lots of gears. And so he can go from consumer grade conversations where we all basically get the idea into arguing the details with somebody who works at the Fed. And he's a great colleague. He actually just got a big promotion. He runs all data at Appcast. So everyone knows him for Recruitonomics, which is our economic intelligence unit. But, he's got a team of data scientists. He's got our data analysts. Because we actually have a T-shirt that is made at Appcast. It says the report is the product. So in recruitment marketing, people spend a lot of money, and oftentimes you really have no idea if it's working or not. How do you know? It's the data, and data tends to be confusing. But if you put it in the right format, you provide context, and most importantly, you provide insight. That allows people to make good decisions, and so the report is the product.
Yeah, I think I heard a developer say sort of a similar note, Chris. A developer said something along the lines of like simple is complicated.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, simple is complicated.
So we're going down the rat hole, but Steve Jobs, one of his degrees or areas of study, I don't know if he got a degree, was in calligraphy. And so he was a big fan of a discipline called Kanso, Kanso, which is the Japanese principle of power and impact through simplicity. And so, if you think about the things that Jobs built at Apple, a huge amount of time was spent on being reductive. And that's always a great sign of great software. User interfaces are reductive. Code is both readable and writable and short, so like everything, to say a lot of things in a small number of words takes a lot of work.
I agree. What's
Yeah.
elegant? If anything, it's elegant. Or the way this, and Andrew Flowers is elegant. We love it. Look, Chris, you are the guest today. We have known you for quite some time. You're CEO, founder at Appcast. For those who don't know, Appcast is a pretty well-established leader in programmatic and job advertising tech. But Chris, why don't you give us kind of that escalator pitch of who is Chris Forman and why are we going to listen to you today?
I'm a husband of 31 years to Angela Marie Toms. We have 4 kids. We live on a little dairy farm in northern New Hampshire. I was a journalist when I got out of school, but followed my wife to medical school and became a forced entrepreneur because there were no companies up here and things to do. And so the reality is I've spent the last 25 years paying the rent. And the way I paid the rent is through working with really smart people to build and innovate recruitment technology through 4 different companies. And Appcast is the last of them.
I love it. Good for you. It's
there you
quite
go.
the journey. Yeah.
Journey. And cows.
Yeah, journey. New chapter. You got a new chapter coming up. Yeah.
I do. I'm out of a job in a double-digit number of days. So it's gonna be great. Gonna spend more time in the cow barn, maybe do some teaching, who knows what. I might get into making hats that Jerry might want to wear or something like that. I need a hobby. I keep on being told I need a hobby. So maybe I'm going to become a hat maker.
Oh man. I think you'd be a phenomenal teacher, hands down. I think you'd be a phenomenal teacher. But so what we talked about a little bit earlier, we mentioned Andrew Flowers and came out, and I want to set the stage a little bit because I want to talk about a couple of things that maybe stood out to you as this data. So we brought Andrew out to talk to our leaders week after the election. And Andrew was tasked with telling folks, this is what the outcome of the election may mean for your recruiting strategies. That was the ask that we gave of him. Now, Andrew, bless his heart, Andrew put together 3 presentations because he had to prep this obviously before the election, right? So he gave us, for those watching or listening or on the Treadmaster, he had one for if Vice President Kamala won. He had one for if former President Trump won. And then he had one if we were still bitching about it. So the guy put 3 decks together. But he rolled in, and I will tell you, the room was captivated. It was interesting. It was engaging. And a lot of people just wanted to know if we were going to be okay, like from a recruiting strategy or a hiring, is the craziness done and all of that. So there were some big takeaways, and I'd like to know yours. But let me start with Chris. Are we going to be all right?
Everybody's going to be just fine. America has stood the test of all sorts of different changes in the wind, and anytime a political party wins all 3 core components of kind of the 2 in the legislature and the executive branch, and quite candidly over the last bit of time the courts have moved to the right, this is going to be a period of greater change. Whether you like that change or not doesn't matter. The rate of change is going to increase because there's an 18-month window here where stuff is going to happen. And so, yeah, everybody's going to do fine. Hug your kids, baseball's still going to be played, still going to be kind of boring. So it's all good.
Yeah. No impact to baseball, which is fine.
Yeah.
I would argue if you can take a nap while you're playing, it's not actually a sport, but that's a whole nother podcast. So
there you go.
So were there any big numbers or big takeaways for you, Chris, when you went through Andrew's data, and as you guys are kind of looking at that and the outcome, any of that you thought really stood out to you that's kind of worth sort of shining a light on, or telling folks, hey, go check that part of the report again, or go download it and check that out?
Yeah. I mean, so first off, Andrew came up with a series of scenarios based on who was going to win. And it basically broke down into a 4-box. Harris wins, Trump wins, Harris wins without a mandate, Harris wins with a mandate, meaning she gets both, sides of Congress. Trump wins, no mandate, with a mandate. Trump got a huge mandate. And, that's going to be a bottle of wine discussion about, how that happened. But the reality is that he got a huge mandate. And when you have mandates like that, that's where the rate of change increases.
Mhm.
There's, three things that are clear are that President Trump, or President-elect Trump, has been pretty consistent about the things that he says he's going to do, and he does try to do those things. So number one, there's going to be deportations. Number two, there are going to be tariffs. Number three, the tax cut that he enabled, back in 2017 is going to be extended and quite candidly might be expanded. Each one of those things is going to have an impact on recruiting, not 2 years from now, but next year. Okay. The extent of the impact that it has is still a little bit unknown, because it's going to be a function of tempo and scale. So you don't need the houses of Congress the president has the sole authority to leverage tariffs.
Yeah.
Okay. So on day one, he could go, and if you believe the rhetoric, put a 10% tariff on all imports. That is going to have a material impact on some level of economic growth. It's going to increase the costs on Americans. Inflation, it has an inflationary impact on it. In certain segments of the economy, it's going to increase demand for workers. In other areas of the economy, like let's say you happen to work at a BMW dealership.
Mhm.
BMW is going to get more expensive. All right. So, like all of a sudden things that rely on that supply chain, could be something else. How much of a tariff, who's going to have the tariff on it is going to impact one way or the other. Deportations. Every million people that get deported is roughly 0.8% off GDP. So, I mean, that's a remarkable number, right? I think it's actually $1.3 million deportees is going to reduce GDP by close to 1%.
Yeah.
Also, there's three primary markets where, depending on the language that you like to use, unauthorized or illegal immigrants are in. You've got construction, agriculture, and basically food service. And a lot of the food service stuff is delivery.
Yeah.
Milk's going to get more expensive. Like, I'm technically a dairy farmer. My wife's the farmer, but even in northern New England, like we play by the rules. We pay our farm workers $25 an hour. They all are legal. And the reason why we can do that is we don't necessarily need our farm to make a lot of money. I work.
Sure.
I sell job ads. So
it's a different scenario for you. Yeah.
If in fact all of our friends that have dairy farms in northern New England paid what we paid, they'd all go bankrupt. Like, I'm not joking. Like the economics does not work. And so pulling that on out is going to dramatically increase costs. You're going to find, kind of some of a huge set of challenges in construction. Like Axios today had an article that said something like 40% of drywall hangers in the United States don't have papers. 40%. Okay.
That's surprising. So, actually, yeah.
Yeah, go. It's on Axios.com, on Tuesday, November 19th, and go read about it. So, like, how quickly that happens, because all of a sudden wages are going to go up. That's probably not a bad thing for a lot of people in America, but at the same time, GDP goes down. How's that? Like, where's the impact going to be? And then lastly, tax cuts are just going to be gas. It's going to be gas. Whether or not we can afford it, whether or not America's going to go bankrupt, who knows? But as you can see, like, there's three items on the menu. How much indigestion you're going to have is going to be a function of how much of each one of them you eat. And right now, that's the big question. And then there's X factors, like, last week, when RFK Jr. was named as the nominee for Health and Human Services Director, global pharmaceutical companies saw their stock value drop by 5%. 20% of US GDP is a function of healthcare. And while, my wife's a physician besides being a farmer, healthcare in America is busted, like totally busted.
Mm.
But like, if you change something that's busted and too quickly, it becomes really, really busted before it gets better. And that's and that's 20% of America. So like, my belief is that institutional interests are probably going to put some guardrails on this thing. But the key for next year is you need to be flexible. You need to be ready for a go-go year, and you also need to be prepared for a year of complete efficiency, which means it's kind of useless. Like, I'm not going to give anybody any advice about whether or not they should be asking for more money or less money.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, if you're in construction, if you're in service, if you're in agriculture, you better get ready to see your wages go on up, and you need to recruit harder. Everywhere else in the economy, it's going to be a little bit difficult to figure out what's going to happen unless you are, really dependent on a global supply chain, or you are an employee at a company that imports a lot of stuff from overseas, where all of a sudden your costs are going to go up and volume is going to go down. The one other thing is that we may find the people that are listening to us, God help them, are all in enterprise recruiting.
Mhm.
You guys notice what's happened in the Russell 2000 since Trump's been elected? So the 2000 smallest stock, it's rip-roaring high. Now it's come back down again. Why? Because a lot of people think that these tariffs and the tax cuts and, quite candidly, depending on the type of small business, not if, you're in a service business, but other types of small business, specifically manufacturing, are do much better. Right? If foreign products become more expensive, you're going to see small companies doing a little bit better. So we may find that jobs are created and hiring goes up. It's just not going to be at the enterprise level. It's going to be at the SMB level.
Mm.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So going into the election, and Jerry and I were talking about this prior, anecdotally, we were looking at seeing more director level roles begin to pop up for TA, because it's been a ghost town for quite some time. We were beginning to see those up. We were seeing hope kind of generate a little bit, and people were like, okay, I'm getting calls back. Because there's quite a few that are still looking for work, who are still in transition, right? You're still taking the time out until the market settles down. A lot of people super, super optimistic that Q1 was going to really sort of settle, and they could get their foot back into some organizations. But then when these nominations started getting announced, all of that just sort of seemed to start, to shit the bed. Like a lot of them were really, really struggling with, like, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. And these roles are getting tightened up. And now their organizations, these big enterprises, are going to have to react to these decisions if those nominations pass.
Yeah. I mean, there was a ton of big companies that were preparing to unpucker. Okay. Everybody's been puckered up. And what you saw was preparing to unpucker. Why were they puckered? They had no idea what was going to happen. That's what companies do. So all of a sudden, Trump wins both houses. Okay, we have an idea of what's going to happen. Then some of these, kind of nominations are coming through, and people are like, I don't know what this means to my business. So puckering begins again. And again, none of this is meant to be, partisan. Like, my politics are about as straight down the middle as possible. I vote for Republicans and I vote for Democrats, whoever's the least of being an idiot. And,
you have a horizontal morality, is what I hear you.
like competence, So, but yeah, it's gonna be hard. But I'm gonna tell you why I think America is gonna be okay, and in the long run, Career Crossroads and CXR and recruiting in America is gonna be okay. You want to know why?
I do. Yeah. I'm dying to know.
You know what this is?
Do tell, Chris. What is that you're holding?
Hold on. What does it look like?
Corn dog.
Corn dog. Exactly, Jerry. This is not a corn dog. This is a pancake wrapped around a breakfast sausage from Jimmy Dean. Okay. So I came into the office. We have food. We have it in a freezer. So, typically when I was responsible for saying what we bought, it was all this organic, healthy stuff from small farmers. And, I'm retiring at the end of the year. So, of course, all sorts of new changes are coming on in. And this was in the freezer. It's a corn dog for breakfast. It's a pancake around a sausage. This is one of the most innovative things I've seen since large language models have been developed. I mean, this is brilliant. I'm 55 years old, and like I've been eating corn dog on a stick since the beginning, and this is the first time anyone has ever brought the innovation of a corn dog to breakfast, which is why that only happens in America. Everything's going to be fine. If we can invent a breakfast corn dog, we're all good.
I'm just looking for a name so I can go invest in this.
Yeah, well, it's owned by Jimmy Dean, so like I'm sure
Dean, all right.
it's probably publicly traded. That you can have a good metaphor there, and yeah. Long story short.
Oh, I love that we started with jerky and silicon packs, and we ended in pancake wrapped sausage.
That's right.
On a stick, not on a stick.
Yeah.
Look, Chris, I love that you're here. I know you're on your exit into your sunset for this particular chapter. I know you got new stuff ahead of you, so we're excited to stay in touch for all of that. And I know you're super busy at this point in time, so we're just so grateful for you to come in. I think that your insights and your perspective is always so refreshing and fun to hear. And I think a couple things of these. I think you did a great job of playing it right down the middle and saying, here are the facts and here where we're at. So no concerns there. But I got to ask you, Chris, normally we ask this about the episode or the topic. I'm going to ask you this question about your career. Mm-hmm. So as you're wrapping up this chapter, if you were going to write a book about your adventure, what would the title of the book be?
Oh, dear God. You ask this, some version of this every time, and I always forget it because my brain is so feeble.
Hardly. Yeah.
It would be we few, we happy, happy few. Do you know where that line comes from?
It comes on St. Crispin's Day about 500 years ago.
That's right. So this is Henry V, right before the Battle of Agincourt, and whoever the king was, so the Battle of Agincourt, like the English were going to get smoked. There was, they were on French soil. There were, lots of French knights, and basically everybody was like getting super depressed that they were going to get spanked and die. And Henry, got up on a stone and gave this speech. We few, we happy, happy few. For those who are with me on this St. Crispin's Day, nay, you be so vile. You are all my brothers. And so it goes on and basically gives this speech that gets everybody all fired up, kind of like, an Animal House, running through and, yelling about who wants to have a party.
And those that aren't with us will regret the day they were born, in effect.
Yes. That they will hold their manhoods cheap.
Yes. Oh, good.
All right. So, this was a real thing. And anyway, the English won. It wasn't necessarily because of the speech. It was because of technical innovation. It was the English longbow, which was the first time it was deployed broadly in battle. And it pierced the arrows would pierce armor. So anyway, they smoked the French. But the reason why I'd call it that is once a year on St. Crispin's Day, we read that in the company. And it also is what entrepreneurship is about. It's about a group of people that believe in each other against odds, because honestly, it's like ridiculously stupid to go and start a business. Like it's, really very unlikely it's going to work. And so, it's about the team, and it's about people being real.
There's exit music.
Big long thing comes and pulls him off. So anyway, that's what I'd call it. It would be about the beginning of Appcast, which was just a phenomenal couple of years where, kind of lots of classic, startup stories, but we few, we happy, happy few.
Oh, man. Well, I love it. I absolutely love it. And Chris, I got to tell you, and hopefully I talk to you before the end of the year again. It is always a pleasure to connect with you. And I do just wish you all the best, more time with your family, more time with your new family members as your family continues to grow. So congratulations on all of that. And we're just so grateful for your time today, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You got it, everybody. We'll see everybody next time. CXR.works/podcast every week.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram @careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.